I wanna be like Mike. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis. This is the podcast where all three of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater. And now we're sitting in Matt's Time to Pilot. After the movie, we're going to give our gut reactions. We're going to share lots of info about our feelings. But we're also going to try to answer some questions. We're going to try to give you some information like, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you bring snacks? Should you hold off on snacks? Should you wait for streaming? All of these things. Should you bring a date? Ooh, I don't know. We're going to try to touch on most of these things. But again, we make no promises. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And I didn't bring a date to this movie, but I did have snacks.
So did I.
Yes.
Although I have a snack at every movie, but
That is fair.
Well, true.
But you don't. I think your snack getting is more of a key information we should share than me snack getting. Because, well, you know, you snack, I have a way of life.
Yes. Okay. Well, I had some pretzel bites tonight with cheese.
Yes.
I had some Royal Farms chicken tenders and fries that I
Not a
snuck
sponsor.
in.
Not a
With
sponsor.
sauce, with dipping sauces that I snuck in.
Not a sponsor.
Well, anyway, yeah, we saw a movie. The movie was Air, story of the Nike courting of Michael Jordan. And
Well done.
the creation of the Air Jordan line of shoes, which is ubiquitous in today's society. So who's in this movie? Well, a lot of people. Tons of people. You know, Ben Affleck is in this movie. Matt Damon is in this movie. Viola Davis is in this movie. Who else?
Chris Tucker.
Yes.
Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman is in this movie. We'll still put him on the famous list.
You don't think
It's been
Jason
a while.
Bateman's
Jason
famous?
Bateman is still, yeah. He's
Just
still
in just in longevity.
It's been a while since he's been in anything, hasn't it?
I think he's been doing some TV and some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, I put him on the list.
Yes!
Just,
All right, there we go.
You know. Good old Jason
I
Bateman.
mean, Chris Tucker's been more dormant.
Yeah, I was
than
saying, Chris
him.
Tucker hasn't done anything in years.
He's sitting on that
You
rush
didn't
hour
bat
money.
an eye at him.
Sitting on that rush hour money.
Okay. Anyone else?
There were some other recognizable character actors, but I would say that was the...
No, I don't think anyone of celebrity status.
No,
actually.
yeah.
Fair
And Ben
enough.
Affleck also directed.
Yes. Okay. Well, so what is this movie about? Well, this movie is about a struggling Nike basketball division. This movie takes place in 1984-ish time frame. Certainly starts in 1984. I don't know if we cover a full year. Probably not.
I think the whole movie takes place over like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's how it played out
the
to me.
idea I got. Maybe a week and a half. Yeah.
Fair enough. So we follow the characters of Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, Sonny Vaccaro, who's like this basketball guru guy who like tries to find players for Nike to sign to their company to represent Nike. And a few other characters are in there too.
It takes place right after the '84 draft.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. And the NBA draft.
yes,
Yes.
Right.
Not the draft for Vietnam.
correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Which didn't happen.
In '84.
Right. So yeah, Nike basketball is struggling, and they're trying to decide where they're gonna, like, who they're gonna try to sign from the draft class. So you get this great like shot of the draft board and all the people, and we all know who the good people are, and we know who the no names are.
Yeah, so it's fun to hear them.
Yeah.
Guessing.
And so it doesn't look like Michael Jordan wants to even entertain the idea of signing with Nike. So the Sonny Vaccaro guy gets the idea that he's going to go to North Carolina and not talk to the agent of Michael Jordan, but talk to the parents of Michael Jordan in their home, specifically Michael Jordan's mom, played by Viola Davis. So he does that. He goes and he gives her a little pitch. And then it's really between it's between Converse, the shoe company Converse, Adidas, and then he kind of wedges his way in there and gets them to come for a meeting so that they can give a pitch for Nike as well. And so, the movie really covers that conversation, and then they get the meeting, and it's like the prep for the meeting, and like they're designing a prototype shoe, and it's all basically taking place over a weekend, and
they're basically it's like their last shot.
Right, it's their last shot to kind of keep Nike basketball as a relevant thing in the world of sports, in the world of athletic wear, shoes, etc. And so, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that
No, I think you're
the Air Jordan brand was born out of that that meeting and that pitch.
But this is the journey.
This is the journey. So that's what the movie's about. Todd, please share with us your gut reaction to Air.
My gut reaction coming in 3, 2, 1. I enjoyed this movie, but that doesn't mean it didn't have its drawbacks in my mind. So, the acting is fine in this movie. Like, there's some kind of good speeches and some good scenes, but this is not this is not a tour de force movie. Like, only in the sense that like the stakes aren't huge in this kind of movie. It's like it's set in a week, and yes, like stuff is on the line. But it almost just felt like, and maybe it's because we just know the outcome. Like, and I know we know the outcome in a lot of movies, but for this one specifically, I felt like the little tidbits of information we're getting were fascinating to me, but it was hard to get really super into the story because I'm like, we know like a lot of this, like already. And I almost feel like, and I think I said this for another movie we watched kind of recently, but I can't remember, that for these type of bio movies and like to highlight one thing that changed the game of whatever it's doing, I almost feel like a documentary is better. Like, because I think the things that were drawbacks to me were Hollywood stuff thrown in. Like, we had to get constant reminders that we're in the 80s. Like, it's like the whole first part of the movie is setting up the stage that we're in the 80s. And then it was like throughout the movie, we'd get these montages that were to remind us we're still in the 80s. And I was kind of like, I know. Like, I get it. Like that kind of stuff, while they feel like, I mean, maybe probably for like other moviegoers is like, oh, I like that and stuff like that. That kind of stuff just doesn't connect with me anymore. And maybe it's because our documentary game has gotten so good over the years, thinking about 30 for 30s and then The Last Dance, specifically dealing with Michael Jordan. Like, I like the information that comes, but when it's in the form of a movie, it always makes you question, what am I really seeing? Am I seeing what actually happened, or am I seeing a Hollywood interpretation of this? And it kind of stops me from being able to enjoy it to its utmost enjoyment that it's meant to do. And that's my own kind of block. I own that. Like, I thought stuff I really liked is the cosmetic of this movie. Like, scenes, like, everything looked like it was supposed to. Like, I liked visually what I saw through the movie, as far as like, you didn't have to do those montages of like, here are these 80s like famous things to remind me of the 80s. Like, I get it. I'm looking at these old phones. I'm looking at the desks. I'm looking at the computers. I get it. You didn't need to go hardcore into that. I feel like if they pulled back a little bit on that, I would have enjoyed it more, but it's still a solid movie. Like, I think it's got a tight script. It's not super long. Everyone plays their part right. I'm still a question mark, and it's going to take me a couple of days to figure out if I like the fact that we don't ever really see the person who plays Michael Jordan, like, and they don't let him talk and they don't let him do anything except for like a one phone call, like,
Hello.
hi, it's Mike, like whatever. And I don't know, like, is that actually what happened during this stuff, or is that like their Hollywood interpretation of it? Like, it kind of felt weird, and I just don't know where I land on it yet. So that's just a bigger question mark to me. Do I think people need to flood the theaters to see this movie? Probably not. Like, it's an interesting story. Certainly if you're a basketball fan or if you're a huge Nike fan, like, maybe you should make the outing to see this movie in theaters. Like, because it is a very important part of basketball history, because so many things changed after this deal. Like, it changed the entire game of sports deals. And I think because of the gravity of the situation, maybe or not the gravity, but the fact that it changed so much, maybe that's why I would prefer it in documentary form. I don't know. Acting was fine to good. Stories, good. Pacing of the movie, I think, is pretty good. There wasn't a point where I was like, okay, here we go. Come on, let's wrap this up. Like, it felt like everything was in its proper order. Things were a little faster at times. Things were slower at times, but that's just allowing the movie to breathe a little bit, which I think is good. But yeah, I mean, there's no 100% awful point in this movie to me. I just think it's my own psychic blocks that kind of like make me not enjoy these type of like biopics or like movies like this all the way. Yeah, so I don't, it's not an award-winning movie, I don't feel. Like, it's got some great information. If you're looking for just a night at the theater to just go hang out and learn maybe some new stuff, but also not get totally sucked into a movie where, like, you're on the edge of your seat, you're just kind of there enjoying yourself. This is that type of movie. So it can definitely wait for streaming, but if you feel like you are such a fan of Jordan, or if you're such a fan of Nike or Air Jordans, then it's fascinating enough that I feel like you should probably go see it. Yeah, I think that's me. I mean, like, I don't really know what else to say about this movie. It's not that it's bad. It's just kind of there to me. So I'm going to end it there. I'll let you guys go on for farther.
So before we go on, we'll ask for Tim's gut reaction next. But I just want to say your use of the word biopic. You use it frequently when we see biopics.
Right.
And I've always been like, I think he's saying it wrong. I think it's biopic.
Is it biopic?
It's biopic.
Biopic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I looked it up.
And?
I actually spent time doing a little research.
What did the internet say?
The internet says it is biopic.
Okay,
Right.
so I've been right.
It's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
man, you
Were
would
you
have made me
thinking
feel
of, like-
real bad
Were you
if I had
thinking,
been
were you
saying
thinking
it
of
wrong.
like vision, like myopic?
Yes.
Aha.
Biopic.
Yeah.
But no, it's a biographical picture.
Correct.
Biopic is the correct pronunciation, even though some people do
I'm
stray
sure some people do.
to the other thing that I was thinking of. So kudos to you, Todd.
You got my
for
heart
bringing
racing
it.
there for a second. I thought you were about to just
He's
be
gonna
like,
correct you on air.
so, these last couple of years we've been using this term in the podcast?
We want to do it on the podcast.
Really, you're an idiot. Wow.
So
What a roller coaster there for me.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sweating a little bit. Like, I was like, holy crap.
That was an outcome we didn't know.
you made it. You made it.
Tim?
How do I follow that? I actually, I also enjoyed this movie. I think, I definitely agree. It's a good movie. It's a fun movie to watch. There's nothing like the dramatic stakes aren't as high because it's like, but good movies still can take you on that ride even if you know the end. Like, an Apollo 13, a Titanic, any kind of historical event movie. Yeah, you know the ending, but is the journey fun? And I would agree, and I would say this movie, the journey is fun. The characters are all, they're all real people, obviously, but they're played by mostly likable actors who you don't mind, watching them go through the motions of, and I don't mean that in a bad way, just going through all the trials and tribulations of
This movie's safe. It's very safe. Like,
But in a good
shows,
way.
Yeah,
But
it shows it shows all these safe actors to throw into a movie.
Who you can trust to carry and get things done. And I thought that was what made it work. And I actually liked all the 80s stuff. It was a little heavy at the beginning, yeah, but I thought the soundtrack was great, and it just they picked songs that are good vibe songs, and it just kept the flow going. And I thought you had a little, clips here and there of 80s stuff. Was it too much? Maybe, but I mean, they did such a good job, like you said, Todd, with the set design and the props and the wardrobe that it almost felt like a period film in some ways. In the way, I mean, it is a period film, but like the way they really did have the attention to detail on stuff. And when they showed some of the pictures of the real life people in the montage at the end, you were like, wow, they really did get some of those details right. And that was nice to see. And but yeah, like you said, the tricks they did with the person playing Jordan, I think they were trying to give him like a mythical feel. And maybe they just didn't want to do a de-aging thing or do a look-alike that wasn't going to look alike and take you out of it.
Yeah,
and I think that was a stylistic choice they made, and that's fine. It was really about all these other actors anyway. I think, like you said, it's not a movie you have to rush out to see. But if you caught it on streaming or if it was on TV one day and you sat down and watched it, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like it has to be the last, like, informational movie, documentary, anything about Michael Jordan. I feel like we've covered the basis at this point.
Yeah. So. This was, but it was good. And the little facts at the end were still things I hadn't heard or did, you see some of the numbers, you're like, wow, that really is interesting. And I learned things watching this movie, and you can't ask for much more sometimes.
Yeah.
Matt?
Well, I think generally safe is a good way to frame this movie. We talked about it a little bit on the way walking out of the theater, but there's a couple things that they kind of gloss over. One of them, Nike having like sweatshops in Southeast Asia, and it's mentioned, but it's very quickly
a very
dismissed.
Throwaway line.
And also some of the sort of negative parts of Michael Jordan's life are briefly flashed on the screen, but like we don't deal with any of the outcome or the fallout from any of that stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Notably his dad getting murdered, shot to death. We get like updates on all the characters at the end of the film except for him.
Mm-hmm.
I
guess they felt they already covered this.
Yeah, well, it's all kind of feel good results.
They want you feeling good at the end.
So,
much like the Whitney Houston movie.
Yep. This is definitely a pro Nike movie.
Oh yeah.
Nike was heavily involved, clearly, in the direction and
why wouldn't they be?
And storytelling that happened. And yes, why wouldn't they be? Correct. But if you're looking for, I think maybe this is what you're alluding to, Todd, with like, let's see a documentary where you get a more balanced view of like the good and the bad.
Right.
Not just, here's good.
Yeah. That's fair.
It just feels like we're in a stream, like we're in these line of movies that have come out over the last couple of years where it's like, Elvis, Whitney, this movie, anything that I can't remember, where it's like good, and then they just gloss over like kind of the negative. And I think this movie is less than the other ones because the focus of this movie is not Michael Jordan. The focus of this movie is Nike and how Nike, how Sonny went out of his, like, broke all the rules and crashed the mold to get this deal done, and how no deals, it changed sports deals forever. Like, so I get that's the focus, And it just was like, but it's like if you're gonna highlight some of that, then highlight. And I think it's more of it's the sweatshop throwaway line that really bothers me, only because of the tidbit you get about Sonny at the end, about how he pioneered the legal case. So that college basketball players could earn money off their likeness and stuff like that. Like, I think if they hadn't highlighted that at the end to be like, and look at this pioneer fighting for, like, okay, you're fighting for people who are already kind of wealthy, who are going to get more money and stuff like that. Wow, all these shoes are still made, like, in not the greatest of circumstances.
Yeah. So I liked to an extent the 80s vibe that they had going on there and all the sort of 80s, we got some handheld devices, some different candy, some
Yeah.
like a lot of stuff, a lot of cultural references.
Super focused in on the old school 7-Eleven side.
Yeah.
Yep.
What I do take issue with is I don't think that in 1984 you would have seen a computer or a word processor sitting on every desk of every person.
I thought about
That's a
that,
fair
and I'm not
point.
even a computer guy. I was like, this is 84.
I mean, they were green screen like that, and I saw Tandy, the name in there, and that's an old computer. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
It would have been like maybe one computer in that entire office.
Right.
But still, I get what they were going
But
for.
yeah, it adds to the vibe, and it's fine. Only someone who's probably lived through that is going to be able to point that out.
Right.
Who's a technologist like myself. But overall, I did enjoy the story. I thought it was a little bit dry at points, which I thought that they really used 80s nostalgia and the 80s music that they put into it. I agree that they did a great job with the music to kind of add some liquid back into what I thought was a little bit of a powdery, dry story. And I will give major kudos to Viola Davis. I thought she really stole the show.
I mean, that's
Yeah, I'll agree with
Viola
that,
at this
yeah.
point. Yeah, she's a home run every time.
Yeah. So she was by far, I think, the strongest acting person in the film.
And yes, of course.
And yeah. So overall, I enjoyed it. And I would, I'd recommend you go see it. And the other thing that I really liked was kind of all of the little. The movie is set in 1984, but we're going to reference and have these throwaway lines about sports figures and sports characters and
Yes.
sports players.
Where we know
that, like, when they talk about Charles Barkley and how,
Yes.
nobody's ever going to want to watch him on TV.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He's like has a major role in like a basketball studio, on-air presence.
Yeah.
Stuff like
They had
that.
a lot of
I really
fun.
enjoyed.
Yes,
That
I
was a
like
lot of fun. So if you are, if you're a general sports follower, you're going to pick up on some of that. If you're a follower of the 1984 NBA draft,
Yes.
you'll catch a few things too. Notably, I guess, who is it? Sam Perkins, who was drafted number 2.
No, Sam Bowie.
Sam Bowie. Yes,
Yeah,
thank
right.
you.
He has a fantastic 30 for 30 about him.
Yeah.
Sam Bowie, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
The guy picked over Michael Jackson. Like,
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Dang it.
Do you keep doing that second time?
Both
Different
MJs.
MJ, different
MJs,
MJ.
what can I say?
I don't think Michael Jackson was drafted.
No.
Not that we've heard.
Although, they did do a music video together. Michael Jordan.
That is true.
So,
And there it is. It comes full circle. Very good. Well, anyway, yeah. So I'd say it's good. You should watch it.
I would also recommend to both of you if you haven't seen Winning Time on HBO, which is about the rise of the Lakers dynasty with Magic. I really enjoyed that. I don't think season 2's out yet, but that was that had a nice mix of I'm getting some actual information about what's happening here, but this is by far very much a dramatization. It's a nice mixture of those things. And this is coming from a guy who just really doesn't care about basketball.
Yeah, I don't either. So I'm with
So yeah. But anyway, back to what everyone's here for. How many swooshes
Yep.
would you give this movie? Obviously, the famous Nike swoosh. 0 being the worst, because then you have no Nike swooshes, and what are you doing with your life? 5 being the best, because then you got 5, and you can pass them around to a friend, or you can hoard them all, like you don't want to share. I mean, you got to live your life however you're going to live it. So, let's start with Matt.
And I'm going to go with 3 1/3 Nike swooshes out of 5.
Repeating, of course.
Yes, that's the only way you can have a third.
much like the revenue.
You know what they didn't... Sorry, this just popped in my head. They didn't say what his actual percentage was.
That is
did
true.
not.
I really want to... As soon as they started talking about that,
I
got fascinated by that. I'm like, okay, what is it? What is it? What is it?
Well, I mean, they gave us the number he makes a year, which is insane.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I want to know what that first percentage was.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. We all do. We'll Google it later. All right. So yeah, 3 1/3 swooshes, and I recommend you watch this movie.
Nice. Tim?
I am right there in the same part of the court that you are. I was at a 3.2 in my head when I was thinking about this. Todd?
I'm honestly not that far off either. I mean, like, I pointed out some negatives that I felt about this movie, but honestly, the negatives are just not too high. Like, they're just nitpicky things that I have with myself. So, but I think this is as high of a rating I can give a movie that felt so safe to me, like we've talked about. So I'm at a 3, just a straight 3.
A 3-pointer.
There you go. I think this movie accompanied with some of the documentaries that are already out there about
Like
Michael Jordan and stuff like that. I think if you were to watch all of these, it gives you such a good, like, kind of rounded perspective to this whole, to just the phenomenon that was Michael Jordan. Like, so I think this movie standing by itself, if we didn't have any of those other things, we'd kind of be like, like whatever. But I think the fact that we have all that out there and most people have seen all that other stuff, I think only builds up this movie more.
Yeah. Companion piece.
Sure. Yep.
There you have it. Well, any other last minute thoughts before we wrap up?
No.
I laughed a lot when they were talking about Adidas and
Yes.
Nazis and stuff like that. I don't know why.
That's great. Yeah, they definitely didn't hold back on Adidas.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell
And
Nike
it's tough
really,
history.
really
Tough
was
history.
involved because they really crapped on the other, all the other companies.
Well, they were
hardcore.
softer on Converse because they ended up buying them. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Yes. Funny moment. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis, where we saw the movie Air, and we gave it an average rating of 3.17777777.
Have we ever had a 7 repeating?
I think
Yeah,
that's new.
I don't know. That's hard. That's a hard one, but it's also a pretty good score.
Yes, it is.
So I think we generally endorse watching this film. Even though you might know what happens, it's a fun ride, and it's, well acted, well told story. And so with that, thank you for listening, subscribing, downloading, etc. Please do those things, especially etc. Going forward, and we will see you next time.
Da 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 da.
Da, da, da.